Welcome back to Mama with the Good Hair. I'm your host, Jessica, and welcome to our final episode in our blonde hair series. If you haven't listened to the first two episodes, I highly recommend it because they talk about all thing pre-salon, at the salon, and today we're going to be talking about post-salon and maintenance when you get home with that beautiful blonde hair. Blonde maintenance is usually the biggest excuse why people don't want to go blonde. They don't want to take care of the hair. It was my excuse, like I told you guys, when I became a mom. I wanted something low maintenance, and it's really not that complicated when you break it down. So when you go blonde, your hair goes through a lot of chemical damage and it's really fragile. So we just have to minimize all the other kinds of damage that were happening to it on a daily basis. So just because it went through the chemical damage, now you don't want to add a thermal damage and an environmental damage and everything else on top of that. You guys already know all the ways to reduce all this damage. I talk about it all the time: using a wet brush, a detangler, making sure you're gentle to your hair when it's wet, sleeping and reducing friction by using a silk pillowcase or tying up your hair in a loose bun. All those kinds of things that we already talked about, you're going to want to make sure to do just a little bit extra. Maybe avoid heat for a little bit right after you get your hair done. So I know a lot of people say either wash your hair every single day or only wash your hair once a week. And I usually say kind of somewhere in the middle, whatever you want to do, you just need to make sure you're doing the right routine. But after you get your hair dyed blonde and you went through all this chemical process, I do recommend not washing your hair as much, and here's why. Washing your hair can actually cause damage to your hair if you're doing it too much, especially after you just went through this whole blonde process. It's more fragile when it's wet, so you're going through a lot more mechanical damage with like scrubbing your hair or brushing it when it's wet, so you're going to want to just be careful with that and minimize it. You're also experiencing more environmental damage, so like if you have really hard water, that can be really damaging to your hair, and you're going to want to make sure you're not overusing clarifying products when you are washing, because that'll dry out your hair even more. And right now you just need as much hydration as you can possibly get. And of course, let's talk about brassy hair. That's what everybody always talks about when you become blonde. First thing, it's going to get brassier if you do have hard water. So you're going to want to make sure you test it, get a water filter, make sure you're using purifying products, things that's really going to get rid of that brassiness and just like that hard water buildup, because that is one thing that's going to really cause that brassiness to come in almost immediately. But of course, you're blonde, it's still gonna happen. Environmental factors, washing your hair, fading color, like your hair is just gonna get brassy over time, even if you can postpone that from happening. So everybody talks about purple shampoo, so let's talk about purple shampoo. Purple shampoo was new when I first started becoming blonde, and they're generally not that great. What you have to do is you have to wash your hair first so it's clean, and then you put the purple shampoo on and let it kind of tone in and sit, and then you wash it out. But they typically are really drying. They're not that great of a shampoo. Sometimes they work, sometimes they're too silvery purple. It's just hard to find like a really good one that is also good for your hair health and not just the hair color. The one I use, I finally found one, and I use a hair mask and a shampoo, and they're really doing work together and adding hydration, so it's actually taking care of your hair and your hair health and highlighting that blonde hair and getting rid of that brassy color. So what makes these so cool is it has violet pigmentation in it, so that's what that purple, like really deep rich purple shampoo is. And then it also is really hydrating, and it's reversing the damage in your hair, like not just preventing it and hydrating it, but actually reversing it. You're also going to want to look for black spruce bark is an ingredient in your hair mask or purple shampoo, because that is actually going to reverse damage and reverse that brassy color and also prevent it. But what it does is it takes away all the environmental factors. It's literally a black spruce bark on a tree. It's doing the same thing to the tree and protecting that tree that it's going to do to your hair. I know it sounds really weird, but it's one ingredient that you really want to look for, and it's starting to become more and more popular because of how great it actually is. So it's about time that somebody made these kinds of things. A hydrating mask for your hair is good. Why wouldn't you add purple tone to it to get rid of that brassy color? I think it's genius. Same thing with shampoo. When you get a regular purple shampoo in the store, you're having to do double the work because you have to wash, condition, and then use the purple shampoo. Why is it so hard to just put it all in one product? So you can find all the details at my website. There's a lot of information out there where you can buy and all that kind of stuff. But that's what I look for in my purple shampoo products. It completely reverses brassy hair and hydrates your hair. It's great for your hair. Even if you're not blonde, you could still use it and benefit from it. A split end mender has also been quite the game changer for me. What it does is when your hair has a split end, you have those 3 layers of your hair, and the outer layer splits open and leaves that inner layer really exposed, and that's the most fragile part of your hair. That's why it has the outer layer protecting it. So when that gets split open, there's a lot of damage, and it causes even more damage higher up and up in your hair. So when you have those split ends, you either can get a trim right away, make sure you're doing your regular trims. If you wait longer between trims, you notice those split ends getting higher and higher, and your damaged ends, they have to cut off more and more. When you use a split end mender, it fuses that outer layer back closed, so it's protecting that inner layer of your hair. So that has really been a big game changer for me. I notice when I go in for trims, I either don't have to go in as often, or when I do, they have to cut off less and less. It's half an inch versus like they used to cut off a few inches because it was so damaged and dry. So that's another thing. When you have blonde hair, typically they don't dye those ends because they already are so damaged and dry when you have blonde hair. But if you're using a split end mender and really taking care of your ends, you're not going to have that problem as much, and it's going to look healthy from root all the way to the end of your hair. Another way to help your blonde hair last longer is actually by going into salon visits more frequently but doing less, if that makes sense. Let me explain. So if you go in and you just once a year get the full blowout, the full highlight, they do a lot of work on your hair. And in between that, right before you go in, your hair is brassy, it needs a trim, it's looking dull, it's grown out. Like, you definitely need to go in. If you go in every 3 or so months, think about like once a quarter, you're going to have a lot less maintenance throughout the year, and your color is going to last longer. You can go in and just get a quick tone. It's going to brighten up your hair. You can get a quick trim. They're not going to have to cut off as much as they normally would. They can be strategic and just highlight a few pieces of your hair that really have grown out more or just are resistant on that brassiness. They can really be strategic about it versus when you go in that one time a year and just get everything done, and then it's so much harder to maintain throughout the year. Well, that wraps up our whole series on blonde hair. I would absolutely love if you guys leave a review wherever you're listening. Those really mean a lot to me. I hope this inspired you to go blonde. I think everyone deserves to go blonde in their entire life, and not to let maintenance or anything like that deter you from it. I also have a Facebook group going on right now where we are inviting new people to join. So if you want to be included, the link will be in the show notes, and I will get you guys all into the Facebook group where we do giveaways, we have promotions. Just last Monday, I did a Starbucks gift card for everybody on there because Mondays are hard. So if you want exclusive content, additional information, things like that, Facebook group is the best place to go for that. So thank you guys so much, and we will start our new series next week, and I will talk to you guys then. Bye.